Well. Good evening, Clint.
Good evening, Patrick. Hi, Henry. Hi, Ernest.
Hello. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Clint.
Hi, guys. A long way from home you are.
Just a short flight, 7.5 hours. quick.
Ernest, hier onder in die Kaap ken ons vir Henry goed. Maar jy's nog 'n bietjie van 'n vreemdeling in die sin dat veldrenne gebeur nie baie in die Wes-Kaap nie. So, for the benefit of our viewers, please introduce us quickly to Ernest.
Yes, I actually started racing at the tender age of 53, believe it or not. So it's been 3.5 years that I've actually started doing some off-road racing. I'm actually a bit from a drag racing and top-end racing background. So yeah, I just fell in love with the sport, and I actually met Henry at one of my rally stages with a side by side, and there we actually became friends. And since then, he's been navigating for me. And no, it's a really good journey with Henry, and he's super passionate. That's why they call him Head Boy. Actually, he's so he's so on top of it, and he's logistically wise, he's just an absolute master and a maestro. So he's really good with it, and he's got a massive passion for it, and we share it actually. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
Well, from being the fastest guy in a straight line in a very hot skyline, now you're chasing dust or staying ahead of the dust.
Ja, weet jy, ek love die off-road want daar's soveel driver input en rider input. En jy weet om jou seat of jou kar te deel met 'n navigator wat 50% contribution het, jy weet tot 'n mens se sukses, maak dit lekker want ons
Whoa, stop it net daar. Suddenly you just earned 50% more respect from our side. You actually give it to the navigator.
Yeah, believe it or not, the navigator plays an absolute massive role in this game, and especially now with Dakar, where there's much less roadbook assistance, so the navigator, I would say, even maybe plays a 55% role. But yeah, let me tell you, the navigator, and that's why they actually call them co-drivers and not navigators, because you know what, they're also in charge of the car, and not just in the car, more logistically wise as well. So the co-drivers plays an it's actually it's understated. They are so important in the whole setup of the team.
You guys look pretty relaxed at the moment. You had a shakedown this afternoon. Obviously, things went well.
Yes, you know what? It's new terrain. It's the road book is a bit different, and obviously there were a lot of other cars and big trucks that actually rutted the route out. So the ruts were quite deep, and it was harsh and hard on the car. But it was nice and fast and flowing, which suits my driving style. I like the flowing, faster kind of terrain, So no, I really loved it, and the car behaved unbelievable. We've actually sent the suspension overseas again about 6 weeks ago. We got it back with new settings, shimming. Yeah, we got it back yesterday. Yes, the car is just unbelievable. It's perfectly suited for Dakar.
Before I tackle Henry, something I need to know from you is and as your objectives for this event. What do you aim to achieve here? You're a very passionate man for the sport. We've learned that over a very short period of time. But this is massive. Dakar, you don't get bigger than this. Your interest in this is it a finish? Is it winning the Dakar? What is your objective with this event?
Obviously one needs to finish. That is the number one objective. Number two is to be consistent. If you can really have mechanical sympathy with the car and look after the car. The problem is, if you do break the car or abuse the car, Then you're going to come in late at night at the bivouac. You're going to put your technicians and your mechanics under pressure, and the whole team is under pressure. And suddenly it's compounding. So the main thing is to see where you fit in on let's say 80 or 85% of your pace, and try to stay there. The problem is if you pick up any issues during a race and you've got a bad day, then you need to start way behind the trucks and behind the slower cars, and to go through the dust. So obviously it's going to take you 2 or 3 days to get into your kind of group again if you've got one bad day. So obviously it's super important to be consistent within your pace and within your group. I would love to win the rookie of the year, so I'm aiming for that as well. And maybe if I can get, I would love to have a top 20. That's what I'm aiming for as well. But that's just the cherry on the cake.
Logistically, this is possibly the biggest nightmare for anybody to get things running smoothly. But and it's amazing to see the South African involvement in this event this year. I don't think there's ever been a bigger involvement from South Africa than this year, from competitors, manufacturers, teams, background. It's massive. But you guys are taking a CR6 buggy that has certainly built a massive name for itself, especially in this last year. It's a fairly new vehicle to the two of you. Tell us something about the support you enjoy on this event, in the sense of, let's say, things do go out of line a little bit. What have you got as backup taking you through this event?
Look, if you in the pits, you would really appreciate the kind of backup you've got and that you need, to participate in an event like the Dakar. 80% of the race is won in the workshop or maybe in the pits, with the kind of backup and the experience that Century is bringing with. I think they've already got like 7 or 8 Dakars under their belt. So, they're bringing a vast amount of experience into this thing. And, it's so valuable to join up with Century, with even Brian and then with Julian. So they've got a lot of experience, and obviously, Julian can speak French, and this whole Dakar is very much French orientated. So that also helps a lot out of a communication point of view. But yeah, logistically, it's really a mountain, and what, it's really tough. And there, I'm gonna pass the ball to my logistical manager and my co-driver Andy. So I think he can fill in more in that regard.
To give you guys an idea of how big the team currently is from a Century Racing point of view, just from a South African team point of view. So Century has 10 cars at the event, of which 5 is being run from the South African team. With that is 35 people in the team for the 5 cars. We have I think it's an 18-meter truck that came from Sebastian Loeb Racing, that just carries tires and spare panels. I think there's over 100 tires that goes into that truck. So you can think it's 37 and 35-inch tires. So it's the big boys. And then with that, there's also 2 T5, or what we now call T6 trucks, which is 6x6 trucks that carry spares and tools and other equipment. And then also that one that's behind Clint there, which is a T5.3 that actually carries spares, a mechanic, gearbox, tires, extra stuff in the stage. It's actually a racing truck. It carries spares for the team. So it's an enormous effort from that side. But I must say, what a great thing was for all the South Africans to get here was a big mission. The cars had to be flown suddenly because the shipping lanes is a complete mess. Containers had to be packed and had to be sent earlier. And that's where all the South African teams came together. The guys at All Speed with the Toyota Gazoo Racing, guys from WCT, as well as Century themselves, that all went into one container. Shipping was sorted out between the teams in regards to flying all the cars. So that was all sorted with Qatar Cargo. And then also getting a plane big enough for all the South Africans, including the bikers, the media, everyone, onto one plane. Because of the current Omicron COVID situation, Saudi wouldn't accept a commercial plane, and we couldn't fly out of South Africa anyway because no one would fly us. So a Airbus A320 Neo was rented from Air Seychelles. Everyone onto one plane. We had to do COVID tests a week before we flew. We had to do COVID tests again 72 hours before we flew. And we had to do one 24 hours after we landed. So our noses are nice and clean now. But it seems that everyone has passed in the team as well. So now we can go just get past that last step of scrutineering and then get to go enjoy Dakar.
Now, it's easy to say, yeah, everybody's clean, that type of thing, but it puts an additional pressure on you as individuals involved in the sport. I'm sure somebody has been disappointed terribly by not being able to make it to Jeddah for the start of the event somewhere along the line. How do you experience the reception you as South Africans have currently in Jeddah?
No, I must say, everywhere we've gone, everyone's friendly. Driving today back from Shakedown, every car is someone hanging out a window taking a video. So I know a big complaint was previously the guys felt that the people from Saudi is not that into motorsport or for motorsport, and maybe F1 changed that perception as well by being here, but they're surely for it now, and friendly people. Everywhere you go, they're friendly. They invited us everywhere, so now it feels good. Traffic's a bit bad, but the rest is people are friendly at least.
Your driver put the pressures fair and square on you now by saying you've got 55% of the responsibility in the car. Now you'll enjoy this, Henry, because from our background in rallying in the Western Cape. Rule number 1 of motorsport, does it apply in your team? Do you remember rule number 1?
Finish first, finish. No, co-driver is always wrong.
Drivers do not make mistakes. That's why you are in the car. Absolutely.
No, so we're a lucky team that no one makes a mistake on purpose, so we accept a mistake and we go on. So that's the nice thing. Mistakes will happen. I will get lost, and it will overshoot a corner, and that's one of those things. We go on and we continue and we enjoy the race.
Please identify a corner in the desert.
Okay, we'll maybe run a bit wide and then
jump
or maybe get a puncture. We had our first one today already.
Take us onto into your seat now, Henry. How do you prepare for this as a navigator?
It's difficult because it's quite a big adjustment from what we're used to, coming from a rally background where it's all information the whole time and you actually know exactly what's coming, what line to take, where to go. Then going to the SA Cross Country Series in South Africa, you've got a GPS, you've got an Odo, you've got a road book. Now you're going to a point where it's just less and less and less. So now you've got a tablet in front of you. It's all in French, and now you have to go figure out what they say. So the big thing is you have to learn what means what here, and you have to get your own process going, because also you're driving into the blind now. It's a lot more difficult and a lot more based on cap headings. So basically a compass heading, they give you a degree and you go in that direction, but you also need to know what compass heading means what. So it's a matter of learning as much as possible without being in the car. The disadvantage we all have that has not done with a tablet today, we couldn't use the tablets on Shakedown. So going first stage, first time ever, on qualifying, popping up on the tablet, and now you don't have a book in your hands anymore, you've got a remote. So you also need to learn that remote.
Give us one of the strange instructions there. The first time I went up to the Total Tara rally in Namibia, we encountered something called a EVG. And I didn't have a clue what an EVG. Absolutely. So what strange instructions have you seen so far that side?
For example, left and right's not L and R, it's G and D. This is an interesting one. And narrow is E3. So you get over this thing, and into me is DS. So there's a lot of French abbreviations.
It's French.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of French abbreviations now that you have to So you learn a bit of French going into this story.
En is leer seker 'n bietjie Duits wanneer jy jou antwoord en nie verstaan het wat jy gesê het.
We laughed. We sat on the start. We sat on the start line today, and I tell Ernest, okay, now we're starting cap 48 into Wadi, and he asked me, what's a Wadi? Okay, dry riverbed. So that's going to be the fun part, translating directly to Afrikaans from French. It's going to be fun.
Have you taken a Daai klink meer soos wat ons verstaan, ja.
So that was an interesting one there.
You guys have obviously taken a nice stroll through the pits and had a look at what you've got around you there. It's almost impossible to visualize that from this side of the ocean or down here in South Africa. Would you compare this to this is the top echelon of off-road racing. This is the Grand Prix of off-road racing. And how would you compare your preparations in the South African series? How does the South African series compare? If you look at the involvement of South Africans now in Dakar, surely the South African series must now rate as one of the best in the world.
No, absolutely. I've actually worked out that the Dakar is between 20 and 25 times bigger than our national entries. But let me tell you, the South Africans are pretty fast. You know, they are also ranked as the best, some of the best drivers in the world, and the best, obviously the best series in the world, purely because they've got all the terrain to practice. You know, here in Europe, you know, there's not a lot of places to go and practice. You know, so they can maybe just get some seat time, you know, during a race. So South Africans, you know, it takes you 5 or 10 k's and you're out in the veld on a milliland where you don't practice. So the South Africans, most of them are pretty fast. Obviously, we haven't got a lot of dune experience. So obviously, you know, my strategy there is on the dunes is just to maintain and not to get stuck and so on. But you know, the hard pack, you know, like I said, the South Africans are quite fast in the hard pack flowing, faster type of things. So yeah, the South Africans are rated, you know, a very very good in Saudi because of the terrain we've got to, and obviously the South African cars as well. It's some of the best cars in the world, purely because we've got the terrain to test the cars.
We might be far from Europe, but obviously what you've just said, could the potential be there to see an international race of some kind coming down to Southern Africa or Namibia in future? As you said, this is good preparation for Dakar.
You know, I doubt it. The problem once again is you know, the distance so far from Europe to South Africa. We all fancy a Dakar in South Africa, stroke Botswana and Namibia. You know, it will be the most perfect Dakar ever. But once again, it's so far, and the majority of the competitors is coming from Europe and so on. So I very much doubt it. You know, we now and then get international races that enter some of our nationals, but far less than we wanted to. You know, purely because, you know what, it's too far and they need to rent cars in South Africa and so on. So unfortunately, I don't think so.
Guys, I don't know how much time you've still got, but I've been hogging 20 minutes. Yes, I've got to give it up to Clint so that he can keep you busy for a few minutes.
I don't mind, Patrick, and I know we only have about 10 more minutes to go, so thanks for that. So, Ernest, maybe for the viewers, just take us through the class of the current car versus the cars in the rest of the field. For example, the T class and T plus class. What's the differences?
Okay, so there's actually some classes that got added. So they all fall under the T umbrella, the T1 umbrella, most of the guys. And then you get your T2 class, T3, T4, and T5. But T1 gets divided with now of the new electric cars, which are the Audis. Then you get your T1.1 or let's go to T1 Plus, which is four-wheel driven cars, but with now 37-inch wheels. They're a bit wider now, they're 2.3 meters, and they can have more travel. It's just to balance out the performance a bit compared to the two-wheel drive cars. Then with the two-wheel drive cars, you can either go for a diesel option or petrol option. Two-wheel driven, rear-wheel driven, of course. But they all run 37-inch tires, and some run 35-inch tires, but more to the front to get a bit of a better steering angle. But unlimited, or once again restricted by power, depending on balance of performance, and they weigh a lot less as well. The T1 Plus cars actually weigh about 400 kilograms more, if not more, than the two-wheel drive cars. Then you go over to your T2 cars, which is a production-based vehicle, mostly Land Cruisers. And then if you get further down, you get to your side-by-side classes, which is your T3, which is a prototype side-by-side class. So a golf cart on heavy steroids. And if you go to T4, then you go to a more production-based side-by-side, which is a golf cart just on creatine. So, and then T5 is your trucks like the one behind Clint, but various different classes within that class as well. So there's the 5 main racing classes divided by subclasses. And then you get Dakar Classic as well since last year, but they run a more regularity rally style event than a pure Dakar.
Yeah,
Clint, if
and
I
I
may
believe
ask-
Ernest's historic cars, the Land Rovers. I saw him posting some photos of Landies.
I'm so old, I must actually drive one of those ladies, you know.
We saw some of those cars parked outside our hotel last night, and we were thinking, to drive 12 days in those cars, I don't know how the guys are going to do it.
No aircon, eh? No aircon.
It's going to be hurting. It's going to be hurting.
Henry, something that you touched on the various classes now, but how do they run on the event itself? Obviously, you can't have everybody start at the same time. So how do they break up the different classes? If you could tell the listeners how that is differentiated.
Okay, so we're starting with a qualifying of about 19 kilometers. We have to drive 800 kilometers on the first day to race only 19 kilometers. But qualifying will be run according to T1 class with all subdivisions included in that class. Then T3, T4, T2, and T5 with the bikes going first before all that. The qualifying determines the start position no matter what class you're in. And then it gets divided further back for the non-qualifiers. So your start position is calculated according to a number for the qualifying, and then it will be determined by your finishing time for the actual first stage of Dakar, which would be the 2nd of January.
Now take us through the itinerary, because you just touched on the stages, and when I look at the itinerary, I got the shock of my life, because there's one stage on day 4, which is 465 kilometers of stage. That's besides the liaison section. So the total distance is 707. So liaison is about another, let's call it 300 odd, just to round it up.
So on that specific
how do you
stage,
prepare for 400 odd kilometer stage?
kilometer per kilometer. So that specific stage, they give you 15 hours to finish that stage. Just the stage without the liaison. They give you 15 hours to finish it. So we will be starting. We'll have 6 stages, and then we'll have a rest day, and then we'll have the second week up to stage 12. But yeah, you do stage for stage. So we see it like every day is basically a national equivalent, or equivalent to a national of our events. So our events usually run between 400 to 450 Ks, and that's on a Saturday itself. So all you're doing now is 2 seasons in 12 days. So you take it stage for stage.
It's crazy. So maybe then just take us through, and I know we only have a few more minutes, but I don't want to rush, because this is such a good conversation. In terms of the setup for the bivouac, where do you and Ernest sleep? Where does the crew sleep? If you get to sleep, obviously, and how does that arrangement work?
So the crews unfortunately have to sleep in tents. So currently we're nice and warm in a hotel with aircon, because it's quite warm in Jeddah. But when we enter the desert next week, we have a camper that has 2 double beds, one that pulls out the roof and one at the back. It's got a shower in for us, toilet, kitchen, and a bed. So we get to sleep nice and comfortable, at least the days we get to sleep. And the service crews have little pop-up tents that they sleep in. But with the bivouac not moving so much every day, the guys would probably be working quite late at night and then be sleeping in the day. So that would probably be the setup for them this year. With the marathon stage, we actually have to give a tent and a mattress to the organization, to the ASO. They would transport that mattress and tent for us to the bivouac for the night, where we're not allowed any outside assistance. We'd have to work on the car on our own. And I'm guessing the service crew will then fight who gets the 2 beds.
Going on that marathon stage, if you can just touch on that, what do you take in the car with you that's extra that won't be used on any of the other stages?
So most of the stages we'll carry extra third spare wheel, but on all the other stages we'll carry basically the same stuff. We'll have some extra lubes and stuff, but just in case. But we have an extra side shaft, the extra upper wishbone. We have a steering arm for the front as well. We have spares in the T5 truck. Because the T5 truck is a racing truck, it's another competitor. So we're allowed to get spares from them as well. But then we carry the extra oils, clips, stuff to the boermaker plant stuff.
And then obviously your sleeping bag and your toiletries and stuff like that.
The truck travels, well, will be quite a few hours behind you, I presume, on every stage. But that is still a sort of a nice thought to know that there's support on its way should anything go out of line.
It's an insurance policy you hope you never have to use. A very expensive insurance policy you hope you never have to use.
How much
quicker, they probably put on a turnaround time as well for your claim.
Okay, now the other question. You've got qualified mechanics working on that car all the time. How much practice did the two of you personally put into the mechanical side of repairs on this, potentially on this car?
Probably not. I don't think you'll ever put enough time into that car. That car is luckily a very user-friendly car in that regards. You can't think that something that plain or, can I say, easily built and simple is actually that quick. I must say, when they designed the car, they kept it as simple as possible, and that makes it a lot easier to work with. And there's a lot of space to work. A lot of the four-wheel drive cars, you've got no space, and that makes it a lot of difficult positions to get into to have things replaced. So you have to have it at certain angle, certain stuff. This car, for example, a side shaft change is you use the onboard jack to change it. Onboard jack and a spare wheel to get it level, and then it goes in and out, and it's marked how it should go in. And there's basic stuff we can do on the car, but when it comes to like the gearboxes and stuff like that, there's a qualified mechanic in the big truck. So if there's something big, then we wait for the truck and that comes up. It's a guy from Estonia.
Do you have any form of communication from the stage to your team during an actual stage?
So we're not allowed to use phones during the stage unless we stop and we have an emergency. So it's possible for them to check that, but we do have a satellite phone and also cell phones with a local number in the car. We've got communication with the team as well as the T5 truck.
They're yours.
Yeah. So I know we have a big audience tonight watching. So I would like to give the opportunity to Henry and to Ernest and the team just to give a few messages to the audience and then also to the sponsors, because without the sponsors, I don't think it would be possible or fully possible to have achieved this kind of adventure. So to Henry and Ernest, please, the moment is yours.
Okay, so we do have a few sponsors on the car at least. We've got MS Technic Sparko. It's helped us a lot out with our clothing, our safety gear, everything that must go in the car. Then the guys from Cinches helped us a lot. And I think Ernest has a few more as well. And of course, our friends and family. I must say, our families have probably been taking the most strain after the last few months. you so get into this world with everything that has to go for Dakar that your world starts going around Dakar. So I'm sure we have to actually thank our families for having the patience for us just breathing, eating, thinking, and doing everything Dakar.
Yeah, from my side, obviously, it's JCP Steel and JCP Roofing. They've really been helping me as well. And then Flashing Solutions, and then Ashley Lord's Financial Services for their sponsorship. And I would like to take the opportunity to tell my wife, Elise, I really love you a lot.
Nice.
and I want to thank her for really a support. It means a lot to me.
Well, guys,
Thank you to you, Clint, as well. We're sorting our media out.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's only a pleasure, right? So I know you guys would like to go and sleep and rest because it's been a very long day. Thank you again for making the time to chat to us. And hopefully it's not the last time. Hopefully during the rest day of Midway, we can have a brief 10-minute chat or so. And yeah, Patrick, maybe some closing words from your side.
Well, certainly, I think Henry, ek weet nie of jy nog jouself beskou as 'n visvoet nie, maar I believe the West Coast will be supporting you all the way. And Ernest, yeah, you might be a newcomer to us down here, but we wish you everything of the best. Don't let him get crazy in the car. We know him too well. But since you've given him 55% credit, we'll stick to that for the event. So anything that goes wrong, it'll be blamed on Henry.
He's like that little advert of that little teddy bear that's got a Duracell battery in. He just never says die. It's like a little Duracell battery operated out. But yeah.
All jokes aside, we're rooting for you guys, and we want you to come back with that Rookie of the Year trophy. So I won't say go flat out. I say go wise, do what's necessary on each day, and we look forward to congratulating you on a fine result at the end of the event.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening. Ciao. Thank you to the audience.
And thank you to Byron in the background.
Yes, Byron.